welcome to another episode of The Convo. This is your boy Owen, and I'm back with another good one. I got one of the bros in the house. My man Jarvis is in the house. What's happening, baby? Give me
Yes,
some one
sir.
time for the
What's
one
good,
time.
bro? What's good? What's good? What's good? Glad to
Yes,
be here.
sir. Yes, sir. So, man, um, I was just thinking, like the way we met was not the most ideal situation to meet. Good
At all.
gosh.
At
But
all.
I will say everything happens for a reason, and I think I've been fortunate to keep in touch with you, even though you were a million miles away at one time.
For real.
Uh, I will say though, bro, that is inspiring. That was inspiring to me. I was like, yo, my G went all the way to an island by
Yeah, man.
himself
It
and
was
was like,
crazy.
hey, I'm gonna come get y'all in a minute.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that experience was probably one of the most crazy, but also probably one of those things that like it's gonna always stick with me. Like
Yeah.
it made me a much better person today than who I was before I left. So while I definitely wish I could still be there right now in this cold in
Mhm.
the Midwest, but
Man.
I'm happy to be back with my family though. That's for sure.
Right. That's the thing, though. You back to be with your family.
Right.
Speaking of family, so married,
Yep.
wife and baby,
Hmm.
getting big.
Man, she is 13 months. She'll be 14 months this month actually, which is crazy.
She is beautiful.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. So, quick backstory. My wife is white. Your wife is also white, right?
Correct.
So I get this question probably weekly, right? From both sides. I get it from white folks and I get it from black folks, right? They hit me
Hmm.
with the how did you land on a white woman?
Man.
Right. And like, especially today, with, I don't want to say like we're so divided, but like it's been
Hmm.
tried to be so divided. Do
Yep.
you ever get that question?
All the time. Sometimes it comes from me. Like
Yeah.
I can't lie. My wife
Yes.
and I had talked about this before. Like the crazy thing is, if we were to just look at the Rolodex,
Hmm.
it's diverse. It's
Hmm.
multiracial, multinational, multi-ethnic, all the good stuff.
Right.
But like the crazy thing is, all of the women who I ended up in like my most serious relationships with were either like the whitest of white or
Hmm.
like they were Italian, which I know in some cases some people are like that's not white. That like
Man.
let's be honest, they're of a pale variety.
Yes.
So it's crazy to think about, but yeah, I don't know why that is. I have tried to think about it and try and come up with a solution for years, and
Hmm.
I don't know. It's just always seemed to work out that way. Um, but yeah, I get that conversation. I get that question from, like you said, both sides. It seems like each one kind of has their own opinion on it or has their own thoughts behind what the motivation may have been. And in reality, the only motivation was when I was looking for who I wanted to spend the rest of my life with, like my wife checked all the boxes. Like
Yeah.
she was the person I was looking for. So it's like it didn't matter to me what she looked like. She was that person for me.
That's what's up. I get so like yeah, my wife has got a little tad of Italian in her and it comes out all the time. And like I know for me, my biggest thing was 'cause so like my wife and I we had one date
Hmm.
and it was just she won't stop talking to me. Like we had that one and she my phone ring every day and she's still
Yeah,
here and she
right.
won't leave. But so like for me, right, mine was her vibe just matched mine,
Hmm.
right? And like yeah, I mean, I think a majority of the ladies I'd been in a serious relationship Had been white, but it had nothing to do with wanting white. I mean, my first crush was Tony Braxton.
Facts.
Like that was my first crush. Like all of my crushes were melanated, like
Hmm.
strong black women.
Oh, for sure.
And for some reason for me, like when it came to my wife, she just like you said, she checked my boxes,
Hmm.
right? Um I'm trying to think of like the biggest thing for me and my wife was I just had to make sure. So like my one thing for her was she had to understand black competency,
Hmm.
right? She had to be culture competent.
Right.
Um and that was probably my biggest thing was does she understand what she's getting herself into,
Hmm.
right? Did you ever have anything like that where you're like you're cool and all, but listen, before we take this step.
Oh, for sure. I mean, knowing knowing who my wife is and who her brother is, I think
Yes.
you have a good idea of what I kind of walked into. Like,
Yes. Yes.
her brother was definitely, at the very least, black adjacent. So,
Yes.
so we definitely not gonna pretend that that didn't rub off on her a little bit. So even now, of course, there's still some things. I mean, it's the nuances of black culture that if you're not black, you're not really gonna get unless it's explained.
Hmm.
And even then, you still probably might not get it.
Hmm.
So every once in a while, stuff like that will come up where she'll ask me a question. I'm just like, man, you white. Like,
Right.
you are white. But at the
Hmm.
same time, like, for the most part, my wife has been so open and receptive to trying to learn a culture that's different than hers and trying to learn it
Hmm.
from not just her brother, but from somebody who's a part of that culture.
Right.
And at the same time, she's kind of taught me about white culture, for lack of a better word, too. So it's a give and take relationship. It's a lot of I learned from her, she learns from me. So there was a lot of those moments. There was a lot of just trying to figure out, cool, like, so you did this. Here's why that's not okay.
Hmm.
Or you thought this. Here's why you need to think differently next time we're in this situation. Because
Hmm.
like I said, it's the subtle things that in black culture can go from conversational to disrespectful real quick.
Real
So
quick.
so
Real
it's like
quick.
it's finding out those different things and being able to communicate them, but also, like I said, I give her all the credit in the world. She was never one to shy away from being like, cool, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, let me know
Hmm.
what I should be doing or what's right here.
Yeah. Did you ever feel so like I just remember growing up, right? Like the family conversation. Like, did you ever feel like her like you felt it in the family, right? Like you sitting in the room and you just sitting there and you're like, yep, I'm black.
Oh, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. I always give her a hard time because her late grandmother, one day I came upstairs and this was back when, I had the short hair, I had the waves busting as
Hmm.
usual, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And I had the do-rag on. I just came up because like it was like 8 o'clock. I had just woke up. And her grandma, like, and I give her credit because like it wasn't like she was trying to be disrespectful. She knew it was me. She knew I would take it. So like she just joked with me. She was like, "What you think you're in the hood now?" And I was like, "That's a wild statement." But like
Right.
also, since you asking for real, let me educate you. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, there was a lot of those moments, especially first starting out, where they tried their hardest, but unlike my wife in a lot of situations, they may have asked, but if they didn't understand it, they didn't care to try to understand. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
honestly, that's just the older generation in general. So I
Yeah.
couldn't even really fault them for that.
No, I get that. Like, I mean, one, I've sat in that room, right? I've sat in that room. I've sat in that room when there has been deliberate education going on. Like, hey, look,
Yeah,
we don't say that anymore, Grandma.
man,
like, we,
bro,
we don't. They're not called that anymore, Grandma.
man, it's a wild time.
But and you know what? You know what? And to their defense, not that I need to defend people, but for us, like you kind of just you start to understand like where they're coming from and how you start to see like how their house was,
Right.
right? Like I see it all the time at work. Like I work with older white women,
Hmm.
and their whiteness comes out,
Oh, for sure.
or like some of the clients I'll deal with, like their black curiosity also comes out too. They're like, "Hey, I don't know why I feel so comfortable asking you this, but,"
Yep.
and then I sit back there, kind of like, I'm curious. I'm like, I'm curious about how they think. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
hit me, right? Hit me.
The crazy part is like I know that it's an age old thing where it's like people just they hate because they don't understand. And
Hmm.
bro, if that is not the God's honest truth, like
Yeah.
there are so many like white people who I've met that were, like I mentioned, just unintentionally disrespectful. Like they just didn't know. And it wasn't like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, forget you, I'm on that. Like, it was just trying to ask a question, but it's like, bro, you wilding, like, chill. So,
Yes.
like,
Yes.
just that flat out ignorance, like, on accident is crazy to me.
Yeah.
But
It's the I've never been around black people, but if I was, I would sure want to ask these questions.
man, it's
Like,
like, cool, you're one of the good ones. Let me ask you. It's like, all right,
and you're
chill
just
out.
like,
Like,
man, listen,
chill
I
out.
I was watching that new movie from Disney, Elemental.
Hmm.
Have you seen a movie yet?
I haven't.
Bro, okay, listen, you got to watch this movie. It is 100% about interracial relationships. It's about fire and water, and they can't mix. And
Heads
there
down.
is a scene where the dude brings a girl home for dinner, and it is the dinner that every interracial relationship has ever had with a family that has never had any sort of interracial in their family.
Man.
I legit watched it and I look over, I go, "Oh, this is hilarious." I said, "This is exactly how it is." I was
For
like,
real.
it's the microaggressions out of this world."
Man.
But then the thing is, like, if you've never been in those situations, you just watch it and you're just like, "Oh yeah, they're having dinner."
Right.
But when you've sat in that seat and I was sitting there, I go, "Yo."
Yep.
Yo, Disney is doing it right now.
Man. The crazy part is that dinner for me wasn't with my wife's parents. Like, my
Mm,
wife's parents are great. I can't even
yeah.
lie. Every every once in a while, I'll have to say something to her mom, but very rarely. We've been together for 5 years, and it's been like two conversations. So
Mm,
she's cool. But the craziest part, like I said, it was honestly with her grandparents that like we had to just be like, all right, y'all, like this is what it
yeah.
is. This is what it's gonna be. Like, if we got a problem, let's talk about it now, because
Let's get it out
we
right now.
together. Like, it ain't like unless something crazy happens, we gonna stay together too. So like, let's work this out. And I mean, we really did develop like a good relationship before they passed away, and I'm
Hmm.
thankful for that because even her grandfather, like, I still have a bunch of his tools. Like, I have some of his fishing rods. Like, we always talked about going fishing together. And when I first met him, that wouldn't happen. Like, ain't no way I would went fishing with that dude for hours on a boat by myself. Nah.
Right.
But like, as those years progressed, like for sure, he would be somebody who'd be like, yeah, I'd spend time with you
Right.
because he started to realize those moments where it's like, cool, I'm curious, I want to ask, but maybe I shouldn't ask it that way.
Hmm.
And that's all I can ask for. Like, if you put in the effort to try, cool. Like, we can work something out.
Man, I remember so uh when my wife and I got together, we've been together for almost 11 years now. And I remember when our first conversation, she was like, "You got to meet my grandma," and her grandma is 100% Italian, like old
Mm,
Italian lady.
mm.
And her grandfather had just passed away. Like I'm talking like moments before her and I got together,
Ah, said
and
moments.
and I remember she like tried to give me like the pre-talk, right? She was like, "Hey, listen, like my grandma's like old school Italian, like I don't know how she's gonna be, right? You know, like the pre-talk."
Yeah,
And I mean, so before she passed, literally, like I would go to grandma's house and we would just kick it. Like I'm there
that's
by
what's up.
myself,
Right.
and we're just and we talking like we grew up the same.
Hmm.
We're talking about these broke meals that we were eating and all this. Like, yeah, like that was my G for like a long time.
Oh
And
man.
like I just remember like my wife was like, "Yeah, I just don't know how it's gonna go." Man, me and grandma was kicking it.
That's
So
how
like
it
I
be,
feel you
bro.
on that.
That's how
Uh
it be.
have you and I know you guys are a little bit younger than I am, but have you ever like in your guys' like relationship, have you ever felt the judgment?
From family or just anybody?
No, from just outside sources. Like, have you ever just been like walking and you just feel the judgment?
I mean, I have. But
Hmm.
I mean, that's also just like I feel like that's an innate feature within black people to just know when people around you ain't rocking with you. Like I
Man,
feel like every black person has like that just internal moment of like, this ain't where I need to be. And like,
let me get out of here.
for
Let me get
real,
out of here.
like I felt that a couple times. And like when we first started dating, my wife definitely wasn't one of those people who could sense that. So she would, you know what I'm saying, just be chilling, just walking and vibing, having a good time. Meanwhile, I'm out here looking for exits, like trying to peep where threats is coming from. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So like it took a while for me to get her to a point where it's like, I shouldn't be dealing with looking for this stuff. Like you
Hmm.
shouldn't feel comfortable in this situation. Because
Hmm.
ultimately, it don't matter what you look like. You with me. If they don't like me, they don't like you. Like we are a unit. Let's
Facts.
figure this out together.
Facts. Man, I just remember there'd be times where because like my wife and I both are big like shop enthusiasts. Like
Hmm.
we would go out of town and find clothes, right? And I remember there were times where we would be walking through the mall and literally people are like scowling at us like
Yeah.
and I'm talking on both sides, right? White and black. uh, you see the black folks talking about, oh my gosh, he got a white girl. and then
Man.
and then you had a white folks going just looking just like just disgusted at her, just like he's probably a thug.
Bro, as a people, we have got to let go of the hatred that we have with seeing interracial couples,
Man.
regardless of the gender. Like I feel like you see a lot more hate of like black men, white women than you do with black women, white men.
Hmm.
But like we gotta let that go, bro. Like the amount of times where I've had people just be like, "Oh, so you don't like black girls?" But it's like, what they got to do with like who said that? Like
Right. I love black women. Like, what do
you
you
see
mean?
me, you see me with one white woman and forever the rest of my life. Oh, you don't like black girls? And it's like, what? Hold up. Like,
Like,
first of all, my mama black. Let's start there.
right.
Second of all, I have a daughter who, by all intents and purposes, it don't matter where she goes, she will be labeled as a black woman. So if you
Yes.
can be like, "Oh, you don't like black women," get out of here with that. Like,
Man, like, listen, I the fact when someone can boldface look me in the face and tell me what's your problem with black women, and what makes you think I don't mess with black women?
man,
Well, your wife is white. Listen, I love my black queens. I look
I'll never
when I
understand
see
it.
one of my brothers and they just linked up with a black girl. I'm like, man, look at that black love.
For real.
I'm clapping it up for y'all.
Man.
But it's weird how just because like okay, so for example, have you seen that buddy on like TikTok, that the Umar Johnson guy?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I got a one beef with this man, and I wish this goes far enough for him to hear this. His black ass got on a podcast and said black people who date, okay, so he said specifically black men who date white women are insecure about their blackness.
Yep.
Insecure about what?
Man. I'll never understand that logic.
About what,
Because
sir?
I'm gonna be honest with you. The crazy thing is, I honestly feel like 5 years in, I am more proud of being black than I was before I met my wife.
100%.
Like, bro, the pride I am trying to instill in my daughter, even now, about being black, is like,
Mhm.
it's me and her versus her mama,
Yeah.
look, like,
Yeah.
like, like it's us, we here. So
No,
like,
100%.
I'll never understand that logic, man.
I when uh when all the riots and stuff, and white people are like, "Oh shoot, what's happening?" And we're like, "Same thing has been happening for a long time." When all that
Man,
was when all that was going on, um if anything, that made me help educate my wife more,
for
right?
real.
Um so like she got, I'm talking, we having black history lessons on
Hmm.
lessons. I'm bringing out
Hmm.
all the movies. I'm like, you need to sit down and watch this. This is not new stuff. Right. Right, like I'm
Facts.
giving her like the breakdown, and she's just sitting over here just absorbing, absorbing.
Hmm.
And I posted something one day that said, hey, um something about like check on your white people who are with black people because they go through it too.
For real.
And someone tried to come at me for it, and I was like, listen, so my wife, she had a Black Lives Matter shirt on, and this was a good education piece for her. Now, like I said in the beginning, my wife is very culture competent. She understands
Hmm.
black, right? And I remember she was like nervous, and I'm like, yo, like what's wrong? She was like, I don't want to wear this shirt with our child and someone comes say something to me,
Hmm.
right? And I go, babe, I said, that what you fear right there, with that feeling you have right there, I said, me and your son have to go through it every day.
Facts.
That we have to go through that every single day. Like, but you get to take that off. This don't ever get to come off,
For real.
right? And then what that did though, her and I had a conversation of white mothers versus black mothers.
Hmm.
And I know everybody gonna be like, how she be able to speak on black mothers? Stop. This was an educated conversation.
Hmm.
So what we talked about is how a black mother, right, and they're raising a black child, they have to prepare the child for the world. Where a white mother protects their black child from the world.
Hmm.
And so when we think about that, like think about that a little bit. So have you ever met someone that was raised like a black person that was raised by white parents?
Oh, for sure.
They have no idea about like real racism.
At all.
Like completely just have
At
no
all.
idea that it's even out there
Yeah.
until they get from under the wing, and then they start to see like, or they get around a lot more black people, and then they're like, yo, hey, did you hear, hey, they're telling me these things.
Hmm.
And
I'm
I'm sitting
thinking
here
of
like,
one person in particular from the last couple of years.
mm-hmm,
It was interesting. And the crazy thing is, like, I don't blame them. Like,
mm-hmm,
I don't blame those parents in the slightest because if I were in their shoes, I'd probably try to do the same thing.
mm-hmm.
Like, who wants to expose their child to potential hatred for no reason? Like, nobody wants that for their child. So, like, I could never and would never blame a white parent for wanting to shield their child from that. But at the same time, it's like there's no way you could possibly prepare them for what they will eventually see. It might not be tomorrow. It might not be when they hit 18. It might hit them when they're 30. But like at some point, they're going to have that moment where it's like, oh, I am black. And this person is treating me like this because I'm black. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's a tough road to walk because I mean, like I said, it's a parent's dream to want to protect their kid from everything. It's a parent's desire to want to shield their kid from potential hurt, potential pain, anything negative. So it's like I could never blame a parent for wanting to do that. But I also, like I said, feel bad sometimes because it's like it's you gonna feel it. You
Oh
gonna feel
man,
it one day.
I feel so bad for any two white parents that have any sort of ethnic kids
Hmm.
because they can never relate, right? I was watching the Colin Kaepernick's series on Netflix,
Hmm.
and his mom trying to take him to get his hair braided. Hilarious. Hilarious. If y'all ever get a chance, go to Netflix and watch Colin Kaepernick's story. Like it is seriously like the funniest thing between like him getting his hair braided, him going to black folks' house to eat, and his mama talking about he never eats food like that. Like he's never
Man,
eating his food. He never eats all his food like that. He always
that's
puts
crazy.
hot sauce or ketchup on his food.
Man.
But so like going into like raising mixed children, right? So like I have two of my own, right?
Hmm.
You've got yours.
Yep. With one on the
um
way.
right, right, man. You know what, it to me is so scary and so humbling all at the same time. um do you guys have like those parent talks about like, hey, we're raising black children, and these are the things we got to be prepared for?
No. And the reason why we haven't is because it didn't need to be said.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was almost the beginning of a conversation where, like you mentioned, kind of at the height of a lot of the worst racial tensions that we've had in the last few years here, it was cool. I love you. I'm glad that you have accepted me as being black. Thank
Mm-hmm.
you. Love it. Clap it up. But also, just know any future child we have is also going to be black. You are going to have to love, protect, and share in the same life that you are with me with them. Except
Mm-hmm.
now they are going to be a part of you. Like you are also going to have to take on a lot of the stuff that I'm doing with you, like the protection that I'm shelving you, the things that I'm trying to help you see and understand and pick up on. Like, I'm not always going to be there. I might be at work and you out wherever. Like, that's going to be your job. Like, these are going to be black children. You may not be black, but again, you with them. Like, you might as well be in that moment because it's not going to matter.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, while we didn't have to have that conversation of like, oh, by the way, this is how we're choosing to raise our kids. Like it was already understood. Like I said that one piece, and she was like, I already knew that. Like we didn't have to have this. So I thank God that I have a wife who is not denying any of that. Has never tried to. Will never try to. Like she's fully aware of the fact that our kids, like I said, are black. Like they may be
Mm-hmm.
mixed race, but first race people gonna point to is the black side.
Man, I legit just had a lady at work the other day. She was like, it was one of the conversation of, I don't know why I feel so comfortable asking you these questions, but, and I was
Hmm.
like, please ask away. I'm very curious on how you think.
Right.
And she saw the pictures of my two kids, and she noticed that she was like, are they mixed? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, do they know what they are? And I was like, at first I was
What
like,
are they?
what the heck are you talking about? She's like, do they know that they're mixed? I go, uh, yeah, their dad's black and their mom's white.
Hmm.
And she's like, do they ever get to like pick a side? And I
I don't
go,
know how that
well,
works.
I think society has already picked a side for them.
For real.
And she's like, well, what do you mean? I go, if you didn't know my wife was right, would you think they were black? She was like, well, yeah. I said, okay, so society, by natural selection, they're going to say, hey, those kids are black.
Man, they never got a
And
choice.
like, they never, they don't have stand a fighting chance of being anything else. I said, but the cool thing is they get, I said, at some point in their time, they're going to lean on one side when it's necessary.
Oh, for sure.
I said, and that's the best part of them.
Hmm.
I said, but the worst part is they're going to also get it from both sides. The
Yep.
white side is going to be like, hey, you're too black. And that black side is going to be like, hey, you're not black enough.
Yep.
I said, so that's kind of that's kind of the world we live in. And it sucks because you can't just exist and just be, hey, you have better sun protection than you do.
Hmm.
Like we have to label it something.
Yeah. That's honestly the sad part about it because, like you said, there will come that day where they will eventually have to lean on one side more than the other. And there's a part of me that I'm like, because to be perfectly honest, just recently, actually, I saw a video about this girl who was half Nigerian, half Japanese. Her dad was Nigerian, her mom was Japanese. She lived in Japan her whole life. And like just hearing her talk about like, oh, like I don't really even think about or care about my Nigerian side. Like I was born here, I'm Japanese, my mom is Japanese. I don't speak any languages in Nigeria. I've never been to Nigeria. And it's just like I never want my kids to grow up denying any part of them, if we being honest, especially the black part, but any part.
Hmm.
So it's like I want to make sure, like I said, that I teach pride in who they are because my kids are multiracial. They are multi-ethnic. They will have the the Nigerian part of me. They will have the Italian part of my wife. So like I want them to be able to experience both sides and have a true appreciation and love of both sides. Like it's not just enough for them to love being black and be like, oh, I'm black, blackity black, black, black. It's
Hmm.
like cool, yes, but you also have another side too. Like acknowledge, respect, come to terms with, embrace it, because you everything. So like I want to teach pride. I want to teach just loving themselves for who they are, not just one part of who they are.
Yeah. No, I get that. I mean, we have a conversation with our oldest son. He's 7, right? But he's not like your regular 7. He's like a very, I'm not going to sit here and be like, "Oh, my baby's so smart." No, he understands life. Like
Yeah, these things
I
are
don't
gonna
think
grow.
we've ever baby talked him. Like I could put I could put him in the jungle and he going to come out with a lion fur.
That boy grown.
You see what I'm saying? Like he's well above his time. And so and there was a time where we were like, maybe we should turn that off. Let's not let expose him to that. We don't want to
Hmm.
show him that. But then it turned into, no, let's show him that because I would rather show him that than someone else show him that. And then let's give
Facts.
him the right conversation with that, right? So I can't remember what we were watching, but it was something super racist.
Hmm.
And it was something to do with slavery. It's probably Harriet Tubman or something. I like those movies. Like are cinematic. They're not 100% authentic. So we kind of just take bits and pieces of it and we kind of break things down for him. And he
Hmm.
was sitting here like, so do we hate white people? I go, do you hate your mom? Do you hate all your friends? Well, no. I said, sounds like we don't hate white people, then, do we?
Man.
I was like, no. But I said, but let's talk about like what happened here. And
Hmm.
and a child still he's still a child, so we keep his innocence. But like let's talk about like what has happened here and how things were a lot different for us. Things would have been a lot different for you and I if we were in a different time.
Hmm.
And so and I remember the first time he's actually experienced racism. And
Oh.
he was like he felt it, but he didn't understand it.
Hmm.
So and I'll tell you a story real quick. So we were in Meyer because I told him, I said, you know what? If you learn how to ride a bike on two wheels, I'll buy a bike today. My man learned how to ride a bike in an hour. Shout out to my man. So he's like, now you got to go get your bike. And I'm like, I'm not about to spend a whole bunch of money on a bike. I'm just going to get a cheap bike. So I go to Meyer and get this bike. My son, so it's my wife, my son, and I. And my wife has walked ahead of us because my son and I are joking around, goofing around. And she's like, I ain't
Hmm.
got time for y'all right now. So she's probably like 10 paces in front of us. And we have a freaking bike walking out the door like slowly. This lady isn't even paying attention to anyone coming out the store or coming in or out. She's like dumping ice in an ice machine. And she's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Stop, 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 stop. And we're like, yeah. And she's like, can I see your receipt? Uh, yeah, hold on. I flagged my wife down because she has the receipt. Babe, I need the receipt. She's like, okay, like what the heck is going on? And she's like, the lady's looking at their seat and she's like, where's the toy at? And it's in his hand. Okay, what's this big item here? It's a bike, like the one we're
Man.
walking out. Huh. And she checks it, hands off my wife. So this is the protective, right? Pissed. What the is this? Oh well, we have to. No, no, you didn't do that to nobody else.
Man.
Like, and so then we're walking out, and my son was like, "Why did she do that to us?" I go, "Sometimes people do things for reasons that we're not sure of, but we can't control."
Yep.
Right. And so that was like his first taste of like true because it was noon during
Hmm.
the day. And who's walking out with a bike to just walk? Like, if I'm gonna
Bro.
steal this thing, I'm gonna ride it out.
Bro.
Like,
The
it was
crazy
just
thing is, I had something almost identical happen, excuse me, right around Thanksgiving time. I needed to get a cooler because we were transported a bunch of meat between our house and her parents' house for the holidays. We were, of course, cooking for the holiday meals, yada yada yada. So I got Nori with me. We're walking, we get a cart, we get all the stuff we need, and we're checking out. And the crazy thing is, I instinctively was like, I'm not doing sales scan. I don't want the nonsense. I don't want the questions. We going to a cashier, which I hate doing. But
mm,
I was like, you know what? We finna get it all right here. So we check it out. I have the lady, I said, just put it in the cooler. I'm not trying to carry 1,000 bags. Put everything in the cooler. I'm not tripping. So we're pulling out. We're about to walk out the door. And this older, non-melanated individual like walked by me and was like, "Oh, happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas." And I was like, "Oh, same to you." And like as I walked by, I literally hear her like trying to whisper to the guy at the door, like, check his card, check his card, check his card.
oh my
And
gosh.
when I tell you, like, that is the one and only time I've ever been a Karen. I was like, let me talk to a manager. Like,
Yeah,
it is 8:30 in the morning. Who's stealing this early in the morning?
man,
And also,
man.
he was literally walking towards me to get my receipt. What are you doing? Like,
I'm
bro,
carrying a cooler
bruh, with a baby. Like,
with a
come on, man. So what got her though was crazy. She's sitting here like yelling for like yelling from register 4 to register 30 for a manager. And again, mind you, it's 8:30. So like there's nobody there but
There's
me
nobody
and
there.
everybody 40 years older than me. So like everybody's looking around like what's happening? Like, oh, he must be stealing. He doesn't want to show the receipt. So like the crazy thing is I'm just sitting there, I'm waiting. Like me and the greeter are having a conversation. Like we chilling. Me and him are cool. We ain't had no issues. We laughing, joking, having a good time. And she finally get a manager over, a young black dude. He come over and he's like, "What's going on, bro?" And I was like, "I just want to get an understanding." I was like, "What is her job?" He's like, "Oh, she's just supervising the self scans, whatever." And I was like, "Cool. What is his job?" And I point to the greeter. Oh, well, he's our greeter. He's our first line of defense. Like we ask him to check receipts of stuff that's not bagged, yada yada yada. And I was like, "Cool. Here's my problem. I have no problem with him doing his job." I was like, "I'll give him my receipt with you right here. I have no problem with that." What she doing, however, is out of pocket. I'm not going for it. You need to get her because had this been me about 5 years ago, she might have got slapped. Don't play with
Bruh.
me. Like, and,
So you
like,
want to see angry black man now?
man, but like the crazy thing is, he's like, "What do you mean? What did she say?" He's like, "I literally heard her like yelling at him to check my receipt. She's not a supervisor. She's not a manager. As you just said, she's watching self scans. I didn't even go through self scan. Why's she
Mhm.
watching me?" Like she missed three, four people transactions
Man,
trying to look at me. And he's like, "Yeah, nah." He said, "Yeah, bro, that is crazy." He's like, "We gonna talk to her." I was like, "Thank you, man. Like that's all I wanted. Like
he's so
I have
funny.
no problem having somebody check my receipt, but make sure it's the dude whose job it is. Like I don't need Ethel over here causing issues at 8:30. What we doing, man?
Ethel, stop it,
Bruh,
Ethel.
I was hot. Like, bro, we don't have time for this, man.
Man, that's too good. That's too good. Man, I just think about like how hard, right, it is to raise these kids. And I feel like our parents probably said the same thing like nowadays, because right, this shit is generational. Like it hasn't gone
Yep.
anywhere. It's just changed. The name has just changed.
Mm-hmm.
Um and it's funny because like I think of like my corporate um adventures, we'll call it, of trying to fit in doors of people who don't look like me, right? And I remember every time I start a new business venture, my wife was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing this so hopefully when my son gets in the workforce, he doesn't have to go through half the shit that I've had to go through. How I've had to
Man.
change the way I talk and change the way I dress and change the way I appear just to try to fit in with these people. And I remember when we first like got together, my wife is like, she's from this area, the RV capital of the world, and she's
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, you should get into sales. Like you're doing car sales, you're doing all this sales." I'm like, "All right, cool. Yeah, right.
Man.
Yeah,
RV
right.
sales as a black man?
Yeah, right, man." So I literally I'd be sitting at job interviews and I'd be going through. I think the worst one I've ever got was I had so many references. I I should have. It was an easy job. I was like almost damn near an intern. Like I wouldn't have made no money. It's just a foot in the door. My man
Mm-hmm.
comes back and says, "Hey, you had a great interview. You just weren't the personality we were looking for."
That's crazy.
What does that mean?
Oh man. That's
And then I'm sitting here like,
crazy.
I'm like, man, like, is something wrong with my personality?
Right.
And so then I bring it back to like my child, right? And I'm sitting here like every time he does something and he steps out of line and I try to bring him back, I'm like, man, like why am I bringing him back? Am I doing this so he fits into this narrative world that we're supposed to be a certain way? Like when I get a message from his teacher and she goes, "Hey, he's acting a fool in class," and then I'm sitting here going,
Well,
or or is he someone you're probably going to watch on TV and say, "Oh my gosh, that was my student."
man.
right? Like I think about like how my 9-month-old daughter already has an attitude, and is she
Man,
gonna be an angry black woman?
she 9 months already? That's
Yes,
crazy.
yes, I know. I hate it. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. But
Oh
like I
man.
feel like which I'm hoping because like I saw a statistic that said like by 2050 most of the population is going to be mixed anyways,
Right.
right? So I'm like, man, but you still have that what you went through in the back of your mind as I'm raising these kids, like when he gets in trouble and I say, hey, listen, this is why we have to do it this way.
Hmm.
Um, when we go on the golf course and I go, hey, we have to act this way because we don't want people to look at us a certain way.
Right.
Like we have to dress better so they can accept us in their country club, right? Um, but like these are real conversations I have to have with my freaking son at
For real.
7 just so we
Yep.
can go golf. Hey, don't do that. Don't do that. We're gonna get kicked out of here. Meanwhile, you see all these golf videos of people like ramping off the freaking bunkers and stuff like that, and I'm sitting here telling my son, "Hey, don't sit on the cart like that."
Right.
Like, um,
It's always been a double standard. It's always been it's always been higher expectations, higher demands of black people because anything less, you are everything they thought you were, which is crazy. But it's how it is right now.
man, I just tell you, like, it just sucks to, in my opinion, right? It just sucks to sit here and try to raise these strong, independent black people and say, you can be whatever you want to be when society says you can be whatever we want you to be. And um, trying to install this confidence. Like someone asked me one day, like, what's the biggest thing you want your kid to get? I'm like, confidence
Hmm.
and to love him in his own skin and be like you said, have pride in what he is, be prideful that he has a Jamaican background, right? Be prideful that he has an Italian background and be able to say it proudly,
Right.
right? Like, dog, it's scary, G. And I don't know if this is so. Like for me, I feel like I spend most of my time in his life like trying to prepare him, right? And sometimes I have to like prepare him for his own mother. Like, stop, don't, because we grew up completely different, right?
For
She grew
sure.
up with the hey, don't do that. I grew up with the I didn't even hear it. It just
Yep. Oh man, don't even get me started on the parenting differences, bro.
like I remember we had a
Like,
conversation before our kids were born. Hey, how do you parent? How would you want to parent? Oh, I tear their
yep,
head up, right? Little man get here. Oh, maybe we should. I'm like, what? Do you not realize what kind
bro.
of demon child you have right now?
Yep. Like,
Uh,
it's like you said, it's different, man. Like, even now with our daughter, like, bro, she is 13 months going on 6. Like, the
mhm.
attitude that this kid has already, and I would love to be like, man, you just like your mom, but like, it's like 50-50. She definitely got a little bit of me in her. Like,
Mhm.
she got that
Mhm.
dog for sure. But it's like
Mhm. Mhm.
every once in a while, it's just like my wife and I have decided, like, we are going to do the gentle parenting route, which I'm all for. I'm not trashing. I'm not doing nothing negative about it because I do believe that done right, it can be effective.
Yes, 100%.
With that being said, we just had this conversation the other day. Like, we have two sides of it. My wife is the gentle side of the gentle parenting. I am the more firm side. So it's like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you to do it, but I ain't gonna ask you to do it 3 times. Like that third time, you gonna do it, or you gonna know you ain't did it. Like
Right.
we gonna have a conversation, and that conversation might involve these hands at some point. But just
I
know
love it.
we
I
gonna
love it.
talk about it.
I love it. Look, look, I'll never forget my son. He was probably 5 at the time. We were out somewhere. It might have been the fair or something. And this lady was down on one knee. She had her son's 2 hands, and she's like, Timmy, we do not do that, okay?
It's crazy.
And when I tell you, so the three of us are walking, and my wife is walking, I'm walking, and he's just standing there. And I look back at him, and he's like just sitting there, like watching this lady gentle parent her kid, confused, just
Man.
confused. And I come back over to him. I go, "Hey, E, that's called gentle parenting." I go, "We tried that with you." I said, "Guess what? That's not how we get down anymore."
Man.
I said, "We got to go upside that head, baby."
For real. Bro, so, like some kids just need a little bit extra. Like I firmly believe there are some kids who you can just get by with the conversations. Like, let's talk about it. Help me rationalize your feelings, and then we can go from there. And they cool.
Mhm.
But then you got some kids who like, you know what I'm saying? You might need to get popped every once in a while. Like not
Yeah.
repeatedly, not
Right. Right.
consistently, but
Right.
like every third or fourth time you get out of pocket, you might need to get popped in the pocket.
Yeah,
You know
you
what I'm
gotta get
saying?
you
Like,
gotta get brought back in.
yeah, but like we gonna talk again. We gonna talk about it. We gonna talk
See,
about why
and
you got popped, why you deserve to get popped, and what you can do to not get popped again.
see, listen, y'all. That is the part of parenting that I feel like in Black culture we miss. Okay,
Man,
we don't be explaining nothing. We just ask a whole bunch of questions that get yes or no's, or why did you do this? What? I don't know. I'm 6.
man.
I look. So I try to break after my son. Now my son only had like 2 whoopings in his whole life, but he's got thumped a few times. Okay,
Hmm.
he's that kid. But what he gets is an explanation. I don't ask a whole lot of questions because I've never been that person. I don't ask a whole lot of questions. I said, but what I will do, I'll ask the right questions.
Right,
I don't ask why did you do that. I ask what were you doing before you did that,
man.
because now I want to know your thought process of how we got here.
For real.
So now, because see, I think what happens is when it comes to punishing kids, some people just do it out of anger, and other people don't do it to teach.
Hmm.
Which punishment should be to teach.
For sure.
Instance, why you get a speeding ticket, or why it teaches you, hey, that's the law. You're not supposed to do it. That's right.
Hmm.
So if I am reprimanding you, I need you to know how to not get this treatment again.
Right.
Now you got it, bam, you got it. But now let's talk to where you messed up, and let's see if we can
Hmm.
move on forward.
One of the things that helped us out a lot now, and I feel like a lot of couples don't really do it or they never realized that they could do it. We started gentle parenting each other to some degree. Like,
Mm,
even in conversations now, like if we argue, if we are at completely different ends of the spectrum, what we're trying to figure out, it's not, oh, well, I told you to do this, you didn't do it. So now, like, now I'm yelling at you and I'm ready to fight you. It's like,
mm-hmm.
nah, like what led up to this? What was the thought process that led you to get here? Help me understand before I get mad. Like
Yes,
let's talk
yes,
through this. Like
that's dope.
and that like and I know it's going to be different, of course, when Nori gets older and she's just wild and out of control. But like for the most part, having that practice and having that time to be able to understand my own feelings in the situation and react in a way that isn't just purely reactionary, but is also logical. Like, cool,
Mm-hmm.
I'm upset that you did X, Y, and Z, but why did that make me mad? Before I bring it to you and go off, let me
Mm-hmm.
understand why I'm so mad in this situation so that we can talk about it, so that we can have a conversation about it without me already being on 10 with you. And
Right,
like
right.
that has helped us in our relationship a lot. And like I said, I feel like it's starting to like kind of prepare us mentally to be able to deal with those moments with her
Hmm.
where she does just do something out of pocket. And like my first instinct might be to snap, but it's already kind of getting me in the mindset of like, take it back.
Yeah. Why am I this
Like
mad?
let's understand like why did this make me so mad? Because it shouldn't have. All
Because
she
I
did was
told
spill some
you
juice. Like
15
what we
times
doing?
not to do this. Ah, man, you know what? Like, I am recently a girl dad, right?
Hmm.
And I can tell you the challenge that I have faced of being a girl dad is I ain't never been a girl before,
Yep.
right? So like for me, I'm sitting here like I don't know how to help you. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know what you want me to do. You better look at your babe. What do we do in this
Man.
situation?
Yep.
Right? Like, being a dad is awesome, but how have you been with as being a girl dad? Because most people, right? They're like, oh God, I need a son. I gotta have a son.
I mean, I kind of knew I wasn't gonna have a son because I went my whole life saying that my first kid could not be a girl. So like
Oh yeah,
I
you
knew
was
that
doomed
from
from
the
the start.
years of me saying that, I knew for a fact we was gonna have a girl the first one. So like I would say the biggest change that has happened in me is it's made me want to be a lot more in touch emotionally and figure out my own emotions because
Hmm.
like even now, bro, again, she's 13 months and she has such big emotions. Like it's great. Like if she's happy, she is the happiest child you've ever seen. If she's sad, it will make you cry at how sad she is. Like like my daughter has these big emotions and she feels them passionately. So it's made me like stop and just want to re reevaluate myself. And it's like, cool, I feel these emotions as well. I can feel happy, I can feel sad, but like, why don't I feel them as like as largely as she does? Like, why don't they become all of who I am in that moment? If I'm happy, why am I not fully happy and nothing else matters?
Yeah,
Why is it that I can be happy, but then like, cool, but I can't be happy for too long. I got to think about this, right? You know, like what part of my mind has changed so much that like I can't just enjoy something. I can't just be fully happy about something like she is. So having her and the combination of her and my wife, who my wife is the definition of an empath. Like that woman is, she is an emotion. Like she's where my daughter gets it from. They both feel very big and they fully lean into their emotions. So having the two of them has definitely made me just want to be more emotionally intelligent and want to be more emotionally available and taking stock of who I am because I don't want my daughter to be the kind of kid who's like, oh, well, I'm having this kind of day or I'm this, I'm that, but like I can't talk to dad about that because he's not going to understand. And it's like, you know what? I might not understand, but I don't want you to feel closed off because you think I won't emotionally connect with you. Like, I'm not the most emotionally intelligent. I mean, I feel like black men in general, most cases, aren't very emotionally intelligent. Like it's a culture thing, unfortunately. But I'm trying my best to be that for her because I know that if I don't, I'll miss out on that part of her, and I don't want to miss out on that part. Hmm. It's different, man. This was a. Hmm. This was a. Hmm. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Trust me, I can. I can wait a little bit longer. We gonna take our time with this pregnancy. For sure, man. Same to you, bro. You know what it is. All love, baby. LTD all day, baby.